When Amara Thompson stood at her father's funeral, she expected grief, not betrayal. Leonard called her his daughter every day, but his will declared she didn't exist. As whispers and lies tried to erase her, she uncovered the truth he left behind. Proof that family isn't just blood, but a fight worth winning. Amara Thompson felt the sting the moment she stepped into the church. Not a slap or a word, just silence, the kind that lingers when someone enters but isn't truly welcome. Eyes glanced her way, then slid off. A few nodded politely, others acted like she was invisible. She gripped her navy coat and walked to the front pew, where her father's coffin sat, framed by white lilies and a photo of Leonard Thompson, a retired history teacher known in Augusta, Georgia, for his quiet kindness. Amara hadn't seen some of these people in over a decade. Leonard had raised her as his daughter since she was 9. That meant something. Or it used to. She sat beside Aunt Clara, who gave a tight smile and said, "Hello." No hug, no warmth. Amara stared ahead, her chest tight with grief and something else. A sense she didn't belong, like she was merely tolerated. She shook it off. Funerals make people act strange. The service began. The pastor spoke softly, sharing stories of Leonard's generosity. Amara held it together until they played his favorite Otis Redding song. It broke her. Tears fell as she bowed her head. Afterward, the family gathered in the church basement for a light reception: fried chicken, macaroni, pound cake. Amara grabbed a paper plate and stood near the drink table, trying to steady herself. Then Victor Ramsey appeared, his slicked back hair unchanged, his cautious smile intact, the family lawyer who'd handled Leonard's affairs since before Amara moved in. "Amara," he said, tilting his head, "you've become an impressive woman. Heard you're doing well in Savannah." She forced a smile. "Trying my best. Thank you." He lowered his voice. "I need a private word about the will." Her stomach churned. She followed him down a narrow hallway to a small office, away from the chatter and clinking forks. Victor closed the door. "I won't keep you long," he said, "but it's best to be up front before the will's read. There's no easy way to say this." He sat, steepling his fingers. "Your name isn't in Leonard's will." Amara frowned. "What?" "Legally, your adoption was never finalized. I checked everything. No court records, no completed paperwork. So right now, you're not recognized as a legal heir." The air stilled. Amara stared, blinking slowly, her mind struggling to catch up. She let out a disbelieving laugh. "That makes no sense. I lived with him since I was a kid. He raised me. He called me his daughter every day." "I'm not saying he didn't love you," Victor said quickly, "but legally I can only go by the document, and those don't include you." "So you're telling me my father, who paid for my college, took me to doctors, taught me to change a tire, just forgot to finalize it?" "I'm sorry," Victor said, his tone edged with false sympathy. "It happens more than you'd think." Her mouth opened, then closed. Leonard was meticulous. He didn't forget things like that. He never treated her like an afterthought. Her voice dropped. "Do my cousins know about this?" Victor hesitated. That was enough. Her breath shallowed. A lump formed in her throat, but she swallowed it. "Not here, not in front of him." She stood. "Thanks for the update," she said icily, heading for the door. His voice followed. "I'm truly sorry." She didn't reply as she stepped into the fluorescent-lit hallway. Something shifted in her. Grief took a back seat. Doubt seized control. Victor wasn't telling her everything, and something about the will felt wrong. Back in her rental car, her hands shook. She sat in the driver's seat, keys on her lap, staring through the windshield as if she could rewind the last 15 minutes. The man who'd once signed her birthday cards, Uncle Victor, had just erased her from her father's life, with a few cold words. She didn't cry. Not yet. Her face burned too hot for tears. She started the car and drove to the house she'd once called home, a modest 2-story on Willow Lane. It felt alien now, like it was forgetting her. Inside, the air smelled of lemon polish and dust. Her cousin Lila, Leonard's niece, was there acting like she owned the place. Lila barely glanced up from her phone. "Heard you talk to Victor," she said flatly. "Tough break." Amara dropped her bag by the stairs. You knew? Lila shrugged. Not exactly a secret. My dad told me ages ago. Said Uncle Leonard never filed the final papers. That's a lie, Amara shot back. He showed me the adoption certificate. It was hung right here. She pointed to the hallway near the mirror. Where is it? Lila gave a lazy glance. Girl, that was just for show. You really thought it meant something. Amara's throat tightened. She strode to the hallway. The frame was gone, the wall patched smooth. Her fingers grazed the plaster, heart pounding. She spun to Lila. Why'd you take it down? Lila stood, finally serious. Why are you digging? He's gone, Amara. There's nothing left to fight for. Amara stepped closer. You're scared. I'll find something. Lila crossed her arms. You think because he loved you, you're entitled. That's not how it works. Leonard didn't care about blood, Amara snapped. He chose me. You barely showed up. Silence. Only the distant hum of the kitchen fridge. Lila muttered, Doesn't matter now. Amara stormed upstairs to her old bedroom, now a sewing room with a folding table piled with fabric scraps. But one thing remained, an old cedar chest in the corner. She opened it. Inside were photo albums, cards, a few books. She pulled out Charlotte's Web, her name scrawled on the cover in Leonard's handwriting, To my daughter, forever, Dad. Her fingers trembled as she flipped through it. Tucked in the final chapter was a yellowed envelope. She opened it. A letter dated April 14, 2001. Dear Amara, if I ever forgot to say it out loud, you're always my daughter. I may not have given you life, but loving you is the most natural thing I've ever done. Love, Dad. She sank to the floor. This wasn't just sentiment, it was intent. Leonard wanted her as family, every act, every letter, every packed lunch, proof. So why was Victor lying? Why was the document gone? She sat there until the light faded. The house felt foreign, like someone had erased her memories and hoped she wouldn't notice. But she wouldn't let that happen. She took the letter, book and album. As she left the room, her phone buzzed. A new voicemail from Leonard, 2 days before he died. She hit play. His voice was tired, but warm. Hey, little girl. Just wanted to say I'm proud of you. Got a lot I wish I had time to explain, but if anything happens, check the old truck. There's a key taped under the glove box. You'll know what it's for when you find it. Love you. Amara stared at the screen. The truck had sat in the backyard for months. Now she had a reason to check it, and a fire in her chest that wouldn't stop until she knew the truth. At dawn, Amara slipped on sneakers and headed to the backyard. Leonard's old Chevy sat under a magnolia tree, dusted with pollen. She opened the driver's door, the hinges creaking. Her hand reached under the glove box, fingers brushing plastic, then metal, a tape strip. Her heart skipped. She peeled it off, and a small key fell into her palm, worn but clearly engraved. First Trust, Macon, 40 minutes away. She closed the door, staring at the key. Leonard didn't make empty promises or leave keys without purpose. She left a note for Lila on the kitchen table. Doing something Dad asked. Don't call unless it's urgent. She drove to Macon with the letter, book, and album beside her. The silence in the car amplified her thoughts. Victor's words, no legal records, no court papers, kept circling. But if Leonard went to a bank and hid a key, he knew something needed protecting, something worth hiding from Victor and Lila. At First Trust, the lobby smelled of old carpet. A bell chimed as she entered. The clerk looked up. Morning. Amara slid the key forward. I think my father had a safe deposit box here. Leonard Thompson. The clerk checked a ledger, then gestured to a door. 1 moment, I'll get the branch manager. 5 minutes later, a silver-haired man in a navy blazer appeared. Miss Thompson? I'm Mr. Caldwell. You're listed as an authorized co-signer. Amara blinked. Me? He nodded. Your name was added about 5 years ago. Her chest tightened. Can I see it? He led her to a small room with a table and a wall of lockboxes. After checking her ID and having her sign forms, he brought out a long silver box and set it down. I'll give you some privacy, he said, closing the door. Amara stared at the box, then opened it. First, a folded document. Adoption Finalization, Chatham County. She unfolded it, hands shaking. There it was. Dated, stamped, signed by a judge, May 22, 2003. Her adoption was finalized 22 years ago. Below it, a letter marked, "To be opened only by Amara Thompson." She tore it open. "Amara, if you're reading this, something's wrong. I don't trust Victor anymore. Too many whispers in the family, too many things going missing in the house. I needed you to have proof of who you are and what you mean to me. This adoption is real. You're mine in every way that matters and every way that's legal. Hold it tight and stand tall. We're going to love you forever, Dad." She covered her mouth. At the bottom was a copy of an amended will. Amara was named the primary beneficiary. House, savings, land, all hers. She sank into the chair. He'd protected her. Even as others tried to rewrite the truth, she sat, breathing slowly, her body buzzing with disbelief, gratitude, and sharp anger. They'd lied to her face, tried to erase her, but now she had proof, legal, personal, undeniable. She packed the adoption papers and will into an envelope. As she left the bright lobby, Caldwell smiled kindly. "Everything okay?" Amara nodded stiffly. "Yes, it's finally clear." But clarity was just the start. Now she had to face the man who'd tried to wipe her out of her family's story. Driving back to Augusta, Amara's jaw clenched. She drove in silence, the radio off. Everything she needed to prove who she was sat on the passenger seat. Leonard's letter, the adoption papers, the real will. Originals, not copies. She parked outside the house, noting Lila's car was gone. Good. Inside she poured a glass of water, her hands trembling. Her mind raced. What to file, who to call. But first, Victor Ramsey, the man who'd lied to her face without flinching. She knew he'd done it deliberately. As she reached for her phone, her fingers brushed her wallet and a small paper slipped out. Her breath caught. Leonard's handwriting, shaky but clear. "Amara, persistence is power. Don't let anyone steal your truth. I believe in you." She didn't know when he'd slipped it into her wallet, maybe their last visit, but it hit like a spark, his voice steadying her. She clutched it, feeling him beside her, fueling her resolve. She called Victor's office. The assistant answered. "Ramsey Law, this is Denise." "Hi, Denise. Amara Thompson, I need to see Mr. Ramsey now." I'm not sure he's in." "Tell him I have my father's real will and finalized adoption papers. If he wants to keep his license, he'll meet me today." A long pause. "I'll call him. Where can he meet you?" "Courthouse, front steps, 1 hour." She hung up. 57 minutes later, Amara stood outside Richmond County Courthouse in a dark sweater and jeans, clutching her folder. Leonard's note tucked in her pocket. A silver BMW pulled up. Victor stepped out, adjusting his cuffs like nothing was wrong. He saw her, offered a strained smile, and approached. "Amara," he said, "dramatic choice of location." "You lied to me," she said, her voice sharp, bolstered by Leonard's words. "You said there was no adoption, that I wasn't in the will." He raised an eyebrow. She opened the folder, handing him each document, the court-stamped adoption order, the updated will, naming her beneficiary, her name in Leonard's bold ink. Victor scanned them in silence. His smile vanished. "This is unexpected?" "No," she said. "What's unexpected is you thought I wouldn't find the truth. Did you think I'd just cry and walk away?" "I gave you the version I had access to," he said, slow and careful. "Maybe Leonard forgot to give me this one, or—" "No, my father didn't forget. You did this on purpose." His face twitched just for a second, then smoothed. "You're making serious accusations." "I've got serious proof," she shot back. "You didn't just miss something. You buried it, and you tried to profit from it. My cousins spilled everything. You helped them take it all by cutting me out." "That's not true." "Keep talking. I'm recording." She tapped her pocket. A bluff, but it worked. Victor stepped back, his voice lowering. "You don't want to drag lawyers into this." "Oh, I do. I've already talked to one. So unless you want your career in court, I suggest you back off, now." He looked at her. Really looked, for the first time that day. Then he rubbed his forehead. "You're just like him."
"Wrong," she said, Leonard's note burning in her pocket. I'm worse. I remember everything, every letter, every school drop-off, every bedtime story. He didn't half-raise me. He didn't keep me for show. He was my father, and I won't let you erase that." Victor said nothing. She turned and headed toward the clerk's office. "I'll need to verify these," he called after her. "Do it," she said over her shoulder. "If anyone knew." This wasn't just about legalities. It was about reclaiming her place in a family that tried to push her out. It didn't take long. 3 days after Amara filed the documents with the probate clerk, things unraveled. Not for her, but for Victor and her cousins. The clerk confirmed the will's legitimacy, dated, witnessed, notarized, bearing Leonard's signature and the bank's seal. The adoption was finalized 25 years ago. No room for doubt. The damning part? A chain of custody discrepancy. The earlier will Victor claimed was official lacked two critical signatures, making it invalid. He'd known, and he'd pushed it anyway.
That afternoon, Amara's new lawyer, Evelyn Harper from Atlanta, filed a formal objection to Victor's will. Evelyn was sharp, direct, and calm in a way that made you feel nothing slip past her. Amara didn't go to Victor's office again. She didn't need to. Evelyn arranged a face-to-face with Victor, Lila, and the rest of the family who'd stood to gain from the deception. The meeting took place in a small conference room at the probate court. Amara sat at the table's end, her folder in front of her, hands clasped. On her wrist was the wooden bracelet Leonard gave her for her 16th birthday, engraved with, "You're my light." She gripped it like a talisman, feeling his presence as she faced those who'd tried to erase her. Victor sat to her left, Lila and her brother Miles to her right. Evelyn stood.
"I think we all know why we're here," Evelyn began, her voice steady as stone. "We've reviewed Mr. Thompson's documents. There's no ambiguity. Amara Thompson is his legally adopted daughter. She's the rightful heir under the most recent, valid will." Victor stayed silent. Lila rolled her eyes. "So what? She gets everything? She gets what Leonard intended?" Evelyn said. "The house, savings, land, and life insurance benefits." "You think she deserves that?" Miles muttered. "She's not even blood." Amara sat taller, her fingers brushing the bracelet's engraving. "Your uncle raised me. That house, that land. You pass by it every summer, but you never mowed his lawn. You visited once every few years. I was there every day, every night. I saw his knees give out. I made sure his meds were refilled. Where were you?" Neither answered. Victor finally spoke. "Leonard never gave me this updated will. If he had, this wouldn't have happened."
Amara didn't blink, her gaze fierce, anchored by the bracelet. "That's a lie. You notarized it." Evelyn slid a scanned copy across the table. The signatures match. Mr. Ramsey notarized the amended will 4 months before Leonard's death. Silence hit like a stone in water. Miles squirmed, looking anywhere but at Amara. Leela crossed her arms, staring at the table. Victor folded his hands in his lap. "You tried to erase me," Amara said softly, her voice steady, "but he made sure I was protected. He knew what you'd do." Leela mumbled something under her breath, but no one cared. The tide had turned. Victor stood. "I'll cooperate with whatever's needed to transfer the assets." "You'll also report this to the state bar," Evelyn added, handing him a separate form. "We're filing a formal complaint. You suppressed a valid will and misrepresented a client's final wishes. That's misconduct at minimum." He took the form with a stiff nod, out of fight. Amara stood slowly, eyes locked on him, her bracelet a quiet reminder of Leonard's love. "You knew I was his daughter, you just didn't want me to matter." With that, she walked out. Not triumphant, just solid. The truth and Leonard's love had done what she couldn't alone, made them see who she'd always been. 6 weeks later, the court's final order came through. Amara sat at the kitchen table, staring at it, her name in bold at the top. Amara Elise Thompson, sole beneficiary of the estate of Leonard James Thompson. The words carried weight, not for the money, house, or land, but because they made real what others tried to erase. She folded the order, slid it into a folder, and exhaled. Outside, a spring breeze rustled the backyard trees. The old oak where Leonard hung her tire swing stood firm. That morning Lila had called. No apology, just a curt question about picking up items from the attic. Amara told her to come Saturday. Someone would let her in, but not Amara. She was done with her. The house was hers now, but it didn't feel like a prize. It was a journal she hadn't opened in years, full of memories she needed time to revisit. She started small, removing old curtains, repainting the hallway where the adoption certificate once hung. She rehung it in a new frame, with a light above, next to Leonard's retirement photo. She wanted it there. Obvious. Permanent.
Neighbors stopped by, Mrs. Hughes brought cornbread, Mr. Carter offered to clean the gutters. It was funny how people acted differently once her name was on the deed. Still, she kept her distance for a while. Evelyn urged her to file a bar complaint against Victor. Amara agreed, but didn't follow his case. She'd seen enough of what greed did to people who should have known better. The victory wasn't hollow. It felt earned. One Saturday afternoon, Amara stood in the backyard with a coffee mug, watching sunlight spill across the grass. A faint honeysuckle breeze stirred. Something settled in her, like her bones could finally rest. That night, she found a folder in Leonard's desk labeled Unsent Letters. Inside were dozens of pages, all to her. Some funny, some rambling. One was half a sheet, his thoughts on her future, what he hoped she'd find, what he feared she'd carry.
I know I didn't always say things right, but if there's one thing I hope you remember, it's this. You never had to earn your place with me. You had it the moment I met you. She read that line over and over. Late that night, she opened her laptop and began drafting something she'd been mulling for weeks, a foundation. The Leonard Thompson Legacy Fund, to offer scholarships for adopted kids who'd aged out of the system or never got the support they deserved. It might be small, but it felt right. She didn't want revenge. She wanted impact. If Leonard could raise a child he didn't birth and love her like his own, maybe she could carry that spirit forward, not out of duty, but for memory. She paused at the end of the mission statement and added a bolded line, "Family isn't biology, family is choice, and love is the proof." Before saving, Amara smiled to herself. They'd tried to push her out, but Leonard had let her in long ago. 3 months later, Amara stood before a room of teenagers at a Columbus community center, their eyes a mix of curiosity, defiance, and guarded hope. The topic was identity, who defines it, who challenges it, and what it means to truly belong. She met their gazes, seeing kids who'd been let down too often, just as she once had. Hands in her pockets, she began, "Let me tell you about Leonard Thompson, my dad. A history teacher who lived for Otis Redding, early mornings and coffee drowned in sugar." A few grins broke through. "He adopted me at 9, but after he died, someone I trusted told me it wasn't real, that I wasn't his daughter. They hid papers, lied to my face, said I didn't belong." Her voice steadied, fierce with conviction. "But my dad? He never made me feel like a maybe. He showed up every single day, and when I uncovered the truth, it wasn't in their words, it was in his letters, his choices, the way he made sure I'd stand tall even after he was gone." She pulled a worn, creased paper from her pocket, holding it up. "When I was 12, Dad taught me to write a letter to my future self, a reminder of who I am no matter what the world throws at me. I still carry mine. It's my anchor." She scanned the room, her eyes locking with theirs. "I want you to write one. Tell your future self you're enough, even if no one else sees it, because you are." Silence gripped the room. A boy in the second row raised his hand. "Did you forgive the liars?" Amara paused, her answer deliberate. "I let them go. Forgiveness? Some things don't earn it. But I don't carry their weight. It's not mine to hold." She studied the teens. Crossed arms, restless glances, scars hidden beneath their defiance. They'd faced group homes, broken promises, voices that never said, "I'm proud of you." and meant it. She leaned forward. Family isn't blood, it's who chooses you. And just because someone shares your DNA doesn't mean they see you. The boldest thing you can do? Believe you're worth it before anyone else does.
A girl nodded, eyes bright. Another whispered to her friend. It landed. That evening, Amara walked through downtown, passing the bakery where Linyard bought her lemon cookies every Saturday. She bought two, savoring one on a bench as the sunset painted the sky. The other she wrapped carefully for his grave tomorrow. Each week she left him something. A note, a photo. Once, a child's sketch of his name. He wasn't gone. He lived in every quiet act of love, every choice to lead with kindness, every moment she told a kid, you matter, no matter who overlooks you. That was his legacy, not property or wealth, her. Before bed, she opened her laptop and updated the Leonard Thompson Legacy Fund's website. Beneath the title, she added a quote in bold. Family isn't proven, it's lived, and love is the evidence. She saved it, a quiet vow. Outsiders might see Amara Thompson as a woman who inherited a house, but she'd reclaimed a past that tried to erase her and forged a future she now owned. She switched off the light, closed her eyes, and slept deeply, unburdened. Justice isn't always a gavel, it's healing, acting, and claiming who you are. Your worth isn't defined by others' lies or approval. Anchor it in the truth of who you choose to be. If this story stirred your heart, share it with someone who needs to know they're enough. And don't miss out. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that ignite courage and truth.